Welcome to the DEA Chicago podcast. I'm your host, Luis Agostini. In this episode, we'll hear from students, teachers, and school officials about fentanyl education, which recently became mandated for all high schools throughout Illinois. We'll also take a look at some of the resources available from the DEA to help teachers keep their students safe and informed. Let's jump right in.
What's scary about fentanyl is a small amount of powder, a small amount can kill you.
Today, fentanyl can be laced in anything. No drug is safe. It is never just a Xanax or just an Adderall. It is a poison.
7 out of 10 of the pills that DEA has seized contain a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl.
That was a public service announcement from the Lincolnshire House of Future Health Professionals, who recently won a statewide PSA competition with their video, Face Fentanyl, Face Death. The group is comprised of seniors from Adelaide Stevenson High School in Lincolnshire, Illinois, about 35 miles northwest of Chicago. Here's Stevenson High School senior Vishnu Veena Volker talking about what fentanyl education means to her.
So basically, while we were trying to approach high schools and middle schools on doing small presentations on fentanyl awareness, we didn't get a large response from them. I think there's a little bit of stigma surrounding addressing the severe harmfulness of fentanyl in order to completely educate the youth in our community about fentanyl. And I think it's really important for the youth to understand that just 2 milligrams of fentanyl is possibly deadly.
Illinois passed a bill last year that made fentanyl education mandatory in all high school health classes, beginning with the 2024-25 school year. Sheila Lyons, the special agent in charge of the DEA Chicago Field Division, speaks to the importance of keeping young students educated and informed on the dangers of fake pills laced with fentanyl.
I'm very proud that DEA contributed to the data that was used to pass the Illinois legislation of mandating fentanyl education throughout the public school system. There's nothing more important than making sure that young people know about the scourge of fake pills. Again, that one pill can kill, that this is serious, that you need to educate yourself so you can make the best choices when these challenges confront you, because they will as a young person. Statistically, they will confront you as a young person. So be armed with the education, be forewarned that your decision is what matters, and be brave. You're not alone in this.
Here's Janet Kamiri Ong, a health education content specialist at Chicago Public Schools, about CPS's approach toward universal prevention.
As we've been working with our teachers and our schools to implement this new mandate, we're really looking at what we know are best practices in substance use prevention. So my team really looks at the universal prevention side of things. We have plenty of other teams in CPS that look more at intervention, that look at what happens when substances come into the building. How do we support students? How do we support schools? But what my focus is really on what is the message that we share with all young people regarding substances. So we look at youth health data to see, how many young people are using substances, which substances are they choosing to use, sort of sometimes even the how are they using substances, so that we know what do we need to focus on as far as prevention efforts.
To help teachers comply with the new mandate, the Illinois State Board of Education compiled resources from local, state, and federal organizations, including the DEA's One Pill Can Kill resources and OperationPrevention.com. Operation Prevention is a joint venture between the DEA and Discovery Education and offers free, age-appropriate lesson plans and educator guides on topics ranging from counterfeit drugs to opioid and prescription drugs.
We do a lot of content creation in CPS, but we pull from high quality resources that exist elsewhere. So, we go to organizations like the DEA, we go to, SAMHSA, we use a lot of credible resources to inform what we're putting into our curriculum. And then we collaborate with those other offices so that they can tell us, well, here's what we're seeing happening in the schools, so that as a prevention team, we can think about, well, then how do we educate so that we reduce the number of instances, so that we reduce the number of young people who are, experimenting with substances in a way that is potentially very harmful to their health.
Long before this became a mandatory requirement, Dan Stone, a computer science high school teacher at Lane Tech College Prep High School in Chicago, incorporated fentanyl education into his classroom in a very unique way.
Our data science class is called Civic Action Through Computer Science, and we were looking for a capstone project for the end of the year where students would all together as a full class look at an issue and try and understand it through the lens of data analysis and present something to their community about what they've learned. And something in this case happened to be the increase in fentanyl epidemic that has occurred in the Chicagoland, Cook County area in the past few years.
From 2020 to 2023, there were nearly 7,600 opioid-related deaths recorded in Cook County, Illinois, mostly due to fentanyl.
And, again, through the data itself, all those things came together into one story that they were able to share out both with their students at our school as well as with the even larger district. They made videos, they made posters, flyers. So it was really with the goal of making something authentic within the data science context. So it wasn't just an exercise in just analyzing data and it has no connection to their life. We wanted them to be able to do it for a purpose and ideally something that was going to be important for them.
Many of Dan's students have taken the lessons they've learned inside the class to their college experiences, including Violet Mullinex, a Lane Tech grad and current student at the University of Pittsburgh.
His whole goal with it is he wants students to be able to take something away from it, whether that be something they can show career-wise or at least something, meaningfully personal to the student. And so it's very student-led. So when we were working on the fentanyl project, for example, he had general things that he was like, oh, okay, this looks like it could lead to something good, so maybe keep pursuing that. But generally speaking, we kind of were given more free rein about what aspects of it we were interested in. And so that definitely helped because people were able to get passionate about certain things and dive deeper. In terms of things that were just kind of surprising, all of it, I didn't know anything about it. And if you had asked me before the project, I probably would have assumed that fentanyl was like a recreational drug. I probably would not have, I would never have guessed that it was like something that is not taken intentionally. I still think that there's a lot of awareness that needs to be raised about it. I guess probably people know slightly more about it in college, but I would say it's still not very well known.
While students like Violet see a bigger need for awareness, others like Stevenson High School senior Pajita Jain are glad that the stigma and barriers to addressing fentanyl in the classroom is beginning to break down.
We have discussed about this bill, and we definitely think that this is a really great thing that's happening. We've noticed, like Vaishnavi was talking about, there's a lot of stigma around fentanyl, and it's a very taboo subject. Even at our own high school, when we approached regarding fentanyl issues, it was approached as a taboo subject, and we definitely think that making it required to teach about it in schools is very important in raising education and awareness about how dangerous fentanyl is. Like Vaishnavi shared, 2 milligrams could be a lethal dose, and also a lot of teenagers don't know how accessible it is. They might go thinking they're simply just trying a drug or experimenting with like alcohol, but they could end up in a very vulnerable position. And just raising education about how accessible and how dangerous fentanyl is super important. And we're definitely really happy that it's becoming less of a taboo subject and the stigma is decreasing as it's being required to teach about it in health classes.
I'd like to thank all of our guests for sharing their unique experiences and insights on fentanyl education. For more information and resources, visit dea.gov/onepill, as well as operationprevention.com. For the DEA Chicago podcast, I'm Luis Agostini.